Stop scrolling for a second. So picture this. You wake up, open the fridge, and it's basically a sad science experiment. Grocery delivery? Canceled. Shelves? Empty. And here's the kicker. The FAO says global food prices just hit 130.1 in July 2025, the highest in over 2 years. Right now, nearly 300 million people are facing serious food shortages. That's not a headline. That's real families today wondering how they'll eat. But here's the thing. You can still prepare. There are 7 dirt cheap foods you can buy right now that will keep you full, fuel your body, and sit in your pantry for years. A half cup of cooked lentils, 12 grams of protein for pocket change. White rice, stored right, it can last decades. So stick with me. In the next few minutes, I'll show you the exact 7 items, the real nutrition and calories they pack, and how to rotate them so nothing ever goes to waste. And trust me, by the end, you'll look at your pantry in a whole new way. 1. Lentils and chickpeas, the crisis power duo. If the lights go out and the shelves clear, these two are the first things you want stacked on your pantry floor. Dried lentils can retail for less than $1 a pound in the US right now. Yes, seriously, we're talking roughly 45 to 89 per elba depending on where you buy. They swell with water, cook fast, and give you real staying power. A cooked half cup of lentils delivers somewhere between 9 and 12 grams of protein and roughly 150 to 170 calories. Small jar, big impact. Chickpeas aren't flashy, but they're stubbornly useful. Canned or cooked, a half cup gives you calories, fiber, and about 6 to 11 grams of protein depending on whether it's canned or home cooked. That's enough to keep your body running when options are gone. Here's the scary part. US availability of vegetables and pulses dropped to a record low in 2024, the lowest in over 35 years, which means those cheap staples matter more than ever for households tightening budgets, and chickpea imports to the US fell sharply in 2024-25, down about 37% in key months. So freakouts about supply are not just conspiracy talk, they're real numbers. Storage is forgiving. Dried lentils last a year or more sealed in a cool, dry place. Canned chickpeas and lentils. The USDA says canned goods can stay safe for years if the can isn't damaged. That longevity is the real survival win. So yes, cheap, dense, and shelf-proof. But more than that, when food price pressure spikes and imports slip, these two keep working. They're small, quiet, and they feed you. Could you live on them? Probably not forever, but for week after week in a crisis, absolutely. 2. Rice and dried beans, the unsung staples. If your cupboards scream empty, rice and dried beans are the two things that can quiet that panic. Buy a 50-pound bag of white rice today, and if you seal it right, it can sit untouched for 25 to 30 years without going bad. That's not prepper myth. It's Utah State University Extension research. Prices right now make this truly wild. The USDA's rice outlook for 2025 shows U.S. farm-level rice prices near $13.14 per CWT. That's roughly $0 non-change $0 more per pound at the farm gate, meaning bulk rice is still insanely cheap compared to most grocery items. Dried beans aren't flashy, but they're nutritional workhorses. Recent USDA market reports show grower bids and market deliveries putting many dry bean prices in the ballpark of $25 to $30 per CDAW in some regions. When you break that down, bulk beans can cost only a few cents per serving. That's pocket change for protein. Here's the scary part. When supply chains hiccup, rice and bean are the stuff families reach for first. They're calorie-dense, shelf-stable, and together they make a near-complete protein. Rice fills you, beans sustain you. Older beans might take longer to cook, and brown rice won't last as long as polished white, but with airtight bins and a cool, dry spot, you'll have food that outlives trends, shortages, and short-lived panic. So yeah, in a crisis, that cheap bag in the corner could be the difference between scraping by and actually staying fed. Your future self will thank you, especially if your kitchen turns into a wilderness camp and you've got a pot, a stove, and these two simple staples stacked and ready. 3. Canned beans and mixed veggies, ready-to-eat lifesavers. Open a can and you've got a meal that won't bail on you. These canned beans and mixed veggies are cheap, dense, and honest. A half cup of many canned beans gives you roughly 6 to 8 grams of protein. That's real fuel when grocery runs stop. In the US right now, food stress isn't an abstract worry. Tens of millions of people depend on food banks and emergency distributions just to get by. Demand keeps rising as prices do. Food banks are reporting bigger lines and less margin for error. Cans last, that's not hype. The USDA says low-acid canned goods, think beans, peas, mixed veggies, can stay safe for years when stored properly. No fancy freezer needed, no special packaging, just a dry shelf and a little common sense. Nutrition-wise, canned veggies keep a lot of vitamins and add fiber you'll need when meals are sparse. Beans bring protein and iron. Studies show eating more beans is linked to better diet quality and fills nutritional gaps many Americans actually have. So these tins aren't just filler, they improve your odds. Cost: you can buy a multi-serving can for pocket change. That equals calories, fiber, and some protein for pennies per serving. When budgets tighten, canned goods stretch $1 further than most fresh items. That's why community pantries and households rotate them like currency. But don't get cocky. Bad cans mean risk. Bulging, rusted, or dented cans are red flags. Toss them. And if you're relying on cans for days on end, mix types. Beans plus veggies plus at a fat source equals better calories and a less miserable menu. Who needs gourmet when you have gravity cans of survival? Pop the lid, mix, eat. It's blunt, effective, and the kind of pantry move you'll thank yourself for when the lights flicker and the delivery app says nope. 4. Frozen veggies and fruit. Affordable anti-waste heroes. Listen, frozen produce isn't just for smoothies and lazy weeknights. It's a quiet emergency weapon in your kitchen. In the U.S., between 30 to 40% of the food supply gets wasted at retail and consumer levels. That's billions of pounds tossed every year. If you want to stop bleeding money in food, frozen stuff matters. Here's why it's smart. Fruits and veggies for freezing get picked at peak ripeness. They're flash frozen hours after harvest. That locks in vitamins and minerals. In many cases, frozen peas, corn, spinach, and berries keep equal or more nutrients than what's sitting limp in your fridge for a week. Scientists and nutrition groups point this out again and again. So when you grab a bag of frozen spinach, you're often getting more punch per bite than that sad grocery store bunch. Now the money piece. Frozen produce usually costs less per serving than fresh, especially out of season. That's not opinion, it's how the market shifted through 2024 and into 2025. Shoppers are trading down to frozen to stretch budgets while keeping meals healthy. Nielsen IQ data shows fresh market pressure is pushing people toward frozen options as prices stay volatile. If you care about calories per dollar, frozen wins. And waste? This is the kicker. Studies and analyses find that fresh produce is discarded up to 6 times more often than frozen. Refed and sustainability reports note only a tiny slice of uneaten food comes from frozen sources, while the vast majority comes from perishables like fresh fruit and veg. That means buying frozen can cut your household food waste dramatically. Less waste equals more food in your belly, not the bin. Practical tip: buy plain frozen veg and fruit with no sauce or added sugar. Portion what you need. Pop peas into pasta, toss frozen berries into oatmeal, and blend half a bag into a smoothie to make it last. Frozen goods let you shop fewer times, spend less, and actually eat what you buy. Frozen peas, your personal vitamin popsicles. 5. Peanut butter, calorie bomb in a jar. Peanut butter is tiny, cheap, and dense with calories. 1 tablespoon gives roughly 100 calories and about 3.54 grams of protein. 2 tablespoons are about 200 calories and 7 grams of protein. That means a single jar can be emergency fuel. Think of it as human rocket fuel. 1 spoon and you get a quick, compact energy boost. That matters when shops shut or your access is limited. Prices matter too. Peanut butter hasn't been immune to inflation. U.S. price data shows peanut butter costs have climbed significantly over decades. Prices are up roughly 87% since 1997, and national surveys put the per pound baseline in the low dollars. That makes peanut butter still one of the most calorie efficient buys per dollar on the shelf. Storage is another huge plus. Commercial stabilized peanut butter can sit in a pantry unopened for 6 to 9 months, and often longer if stored cool and dry. Open jars will keep for a couple months on the counter, longer in the fridge. Natural peanut butter needs faster refrigeration, but even then it's far more shelf stable than fresh meat or dairy. That shelf life makes it a sane choice for long-term prepping. Here's where it gets real. In the U.S., millions are already sliding toward food insecurity. Recent reports show tens of millions of Americans lived in food insecure households last year. When grocery budgets tighten, people turn to cheap, calorie-dense foods. A jar of peanut butter stretches a budget. It fills kids. It keeps adults going. It's the kind of pantry item that prevents a day of hunger from becoming a week of crisis. But don't get complacent. Peanut butter is mostly fat. Nutrition experts warn it shouldn't be your only protein source. You'll get calories and some protein, but not the balanced amino acids a varied diet gives. Use it with pulses, oats, or rice to build a more complete profile. Relying on it alone can keep you alive, but it won't keep you optimally healthy long term. Practical tip you can use today. Buy the biggest, well-sealed jars you can afford. Look at the label. 2 tablespoons each still have 200 calories. Do the math. A 16-ounce jar holds roughly 32 tablespoons. That's about 6,400 calories in 1 jar. For a single adult on emergency rations, that's a useful stash. Keep a few jars rotated on shelf. Use older jars first, replace as you go. There's also variety, natural, crunchy with salt, low sugar. They behave differently in storage and in a crisis. Natural brands may spoil faster but offer fewer additives. Commercial brands last longer on the shelf and still deliver the same calorie punch. Pick what fits your routine and your climate. Finally, imagine day 5 of an outage. Stomach growling, low energy. A spoonful of peanut butter is warm, dense, and impossible to dismiss. It's comfort, it's survival, it's cheap. And in the US today, with grocery prices up and millions at risk, cheap calorie density is not a small thing. 6. Oatmeal and whole grains. Breakfast that lasts. You wake up and the first thing you want is something simple. A hot bowl. Something that fills you and doesn't require a grocery run. Oats do that. They're cheap, they're familiar, and they last. The Spruce Eats even lists oatmeal as one of the pantry staples that can last years. Here's the scary part. In the US, millions of families are already juggling how to feed kids and keep bills paid. Feeding America's 2025 Map the Meal Gap shows child food insecurity still sits near 20% in many counties, and overall insecurity rates vary widely across the country. That means having cheap, reliable staples in your kitchen isn't a pantry hobby. It's practical survival. Oats are forgiving. Buy the big bag, store it in an airtight container, put it on a high shelf. Rolled oats kept dry can keep their quality for a long time. Many sources note they stay good for 12 to 36 months. If stored properly, you won't be making gourmet meals every day, but you will have steady calories and fiber when options run thin. Nutrition is the other win. Half a cup of cooked oats gives you about 150 calories, 5 grams of protein, and 4 grams of fiber. That's real fuel for very little money. Oats have soluble fiber called beta-glucan that helps with fullness and cholesterol, which means this cheap breakfast actually supports your health over months of stress. Those numbers come straight from nutrition databases and diet articles that break down serving sizes for everyday cooking. Prices matter when a budget stretches thin. Oats are one of the most affordable whole grains you can buy. Commodity and market data in 2025 show oat prices are low compared with many other staples, and buying bulk or store brand bags brings the cost down to pennies per serving. That's why prepper forums and budget chefs both rave about oats, cheap per calorie and reliable when other fresh options disappear. But don't make the rookie mistake of thinking oats equals boring. You can add peanut butter, canned fruit, chia, salt, or a little honey. You can make savory oats with canned beans and spices. Whole grains beyond oats, like barley, brown rice, and farro, add variety and more nutrients while still being inexpensive. The 2025 dietary guidelines and whole grain advocates keep repeating the same thing. Whole grains are affordable and foundational to a healthy diet. That's why nutritionists still recommend them for budget-conscious families. Curious how many breakfasts that big bag will give you? Do the math. One 42-ounce bag will yield dozens of servings. That's a month of breakfast for one person, or a steady backup for a family rotating through pantry staples. It's boring math, but it's powerful. When shelves are empty, when deliveries stop, that bowl will feel like a lifeline. 7. Chia seeds. Tiny nutritional powerhouses. Okay, let's talk chia seeds. Tiny things, tiny but brutal with nutrients. If you're stocking a pantry for a crisis, these deserve a weird little spot on your shelf. 1 ounce of chia, that's roughly 2.5 tablespoons, gives you about 130 to 140 calories, 4 to 6 grams of protein, and about 10 to 11 grams of fiber. That fiber number is huge. It helps you feel full for hours. Those figures line up with USDA and medical nutrition summaries. Chia is also a plant source of omega-3s. A 1 ounce serving can deliver several grams of ALA, the plant form of omega-3. That matters if you don't have fish or supplements in a blackout. Recent nutrition roundups even list chia among foods with top ALA content. Now, cost. One reason preppers love chia is the price per calorie and per nutrient. You can buy bulk bags in the US for a surprisingly low price if you look. Big box and online retailers show bulk 2 to 3 bags running anywhere from about $11 to $37, depending on brand and whether it's organic or store brand. That works out to roughly $4 to $12 per pound, and a little goes a very long way. In real terms, a single cup of chia yields concentrated calories, fiber, and fats compared to many fresh items that will rot fast. Shelf life is another big selling point. Unopened, properly stored chia seeds often keep to 5 years in a cool, dry pantry. Opened, if you seal them and keep them out of light and heat, they can still last a couple of years. Freeze them, and you extend life even more. That's pantry gold when every fresh veggie has a clock on it. Here's a survival math trick you can whisper to your inner prepper. A tablespoon of chia gives you a solid 20 to 30 calories from fat and some protein and fiber. Eat a few tablespoons mixed with water or oatmeal, and you've got a mini meal that slows hunger. That matters on day 3, 5, or 10 of a disruption. Medical write-ups list chia as calorie-dense and filling because of its high fiber and fat ratio, but please, this is critical, chia seeds absorb water. They turn into a gel. That's why people make chia pudding. It's also why there are real choking warnings. Health sites and hospitals have case reports. If you swallow dry chia and then drink liquid, the seeds can expand in the throat or esophagus and cause a blockage in rare cases. So never eat them bone dry if you're downing handfuls. Always hydrate them first. Soak them for 5 to 10 minutes or mix them into liquid. It's an extra step that can literally save you a trip to the ER. Nutrition aside, chia is flexible, stirred into porridge, mixed into yogurt, thrown into soups, baked into flatbreads to stretch flour. In a crisis, flexibility equals options. One bag can be stretched into dozens of different textures and meals. That variety matters psychologically. Eating the same mush every day breaks morale faster than hunger does. Studies on long-term food security emphasize variety for both nutrient balance and morale. Use chia to mix up bland staples. Let's talk micronutrients. Chia brings calcium, magnesium, phosphorus, and small amounts of iron and zinc, not a multivitamin. But in a world where meat and dairy may be scarce, these microminerals help prevent deficiencies if you rotate foods smartly. Nutrition databases list chia as a minor but important contributor to these mineral totals per serving. On digestion, prepare for a shift. The fiber hit is strong. If you slam a cup of chia, your gut will notice. Start slow, a tablespoon or 2 a day, increase gradually. In a crisis, that's actually a feature. Slower digestion means sustained energy, but if you have GI problems, consult a doc before you go heavy. Some sources flag blood sugar effects and interactions with certain meds. Don't ignore those cautions in the scramble. Price to nutrition makes chia an odd bargain. Compare it against fresh produce. Fresh will spoil fast and is seasonal. Chia doesn't. A 3-pound bag doesn't need refrigeration and will sit until you open it. That means in the weeks before a storm, you can top up on chia and know it actually still exists when the storm passes. Retail snapshots from large U.S. outlets show steady availability in 2025, even when some fresh goods spike in price. That availability is a kind of resilience. A quick survival recipe idea: mix 2 tablespoons of chia into 1 cup of water, wait 10 minutes, add a spoonful of peanut butter or some powdered milk if you have it. Boom! Protein, fat, fiber, and calories in a spoonable gel. It's not gourmet, it's efficient, it keeps you awake, it keeps you thinking straight when you need focus. Nutrition authorities have recommended chia gel as an easy way to get nutrients into people who can't chew or cook. One more real number that matters for planning. A U.S. nutrition summary shows chia has roughly 5 to 6 grams of protein per ounce. If you eat 3 tablespoons, about 1.5 ounces, that's nearly 8 grams of protein, not bad for a little seed. Pair it with lentils or canned beans, and you're covering essential amino acids without relying on meat. In a crisis, that protein stacking is a lifeline. And the psychological angle, don't underestimate it. Chia pudding looks and feels like food. In a survival scenario, eating something that resembles a normal texture helps morale. People eat with their eyes and their hands. A spoon of pudding can calm stress and give a routine: hydrate the seeds, stir in flavor, eat. Routines stabilize people during chaos. Food psychologists and disaster response guides highlight routine as crucial during disruptions. Use chia to create small rituals that keep spirits up. Finally, remember storage basics. Airtight container, cool, dark spot, label the bag with a date, rotate every 2 to 3 years. If you can freeze unopened bulk bags, do it. Shelf life extends even more. Practical pantry management like this is as important as the item you store. Chia is forgiving, but only if you treat it right. Retail and food safety pages give clear tips about sealing and refrigeration to extend life. So there you have it, 7 ultra cheap foods that can actually keep you going when the world gets weird. Lentils, rice, canned veggies, frozen fruit, peanut butter, oatmeal, chia seeds, simple stuff, cheap stuff, real calories and real nutrients. Stack them, rotate them, label them. Treat your pantry like insurance, not clutter. A little planning now means you and your people eat tomorrow. If this surprised you, do me a favor. Hit like. It helps others find this info fast. Drop a comment and tell me which item you'd grab first, or shout out your own cheap survival hack. I read every comment. Want more fast, practical survival tips that don't cost a fortune? Subscribe and tap the bell so you don't miss the next one. Share this with a friend or neighbor who should know. Stay sharp, stay fed, stay calm, and I'll catch you in the next video.